And that's
Right.
that's what I tell about reentry. Reentry isn't just a moment, it's a mindset. Release is learning to believe that you are worth more than your worst decisions. And you have to get that mindset ready. So when the world taps you on the shoulder and tells you that you're broken and that you're not going to make it, you have to be able to dig in and dig deep and answer back, why not? Why not
Yes.
believe I deserve that second chance? Why not believe I can have a second chance? Why not believe I deserve that better life?
What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares and set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right, welcome back. Nightmare Success and Now. Listeners, this is where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? Hey, don't forget, guys out there, everybody, don't forget to follow, subscribe, share this thing out, like it up, comment. It really helps the show, and I really super appreciate it. So who are we talking to today on Nightmare Success? Well, I have had a great conversation with Rusty, and he's somebody, it's Rusty Pangburn, and it's somebody I have kind of followed through his story, both on LinkedIn and on social media. And it's an interesting story. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author of the book, Mindset Matters. And what was interesting too is that as we were setting this up for a date for a interview, Kristen Johnson, who I interviewed 3 or 4 episodes ago, she had posted his book, Mindset Matters, on there. So his book is out and around, but he's got a book of Mindset Matters. He is also a truck driver. And I want to say that is an occupation that a lot of people probably don't know, but it's open to justice impacted individuals. I mean, obviously you got to go get through and get your CDL. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but if you do, there's a lot of guys that I know that have had success with that. Either they did it as a stepping stone, or they liked it and they kept on going with it. But Rusty has done it and has now he's created a nonprofit. He's got the why not mindset.net. And I'll just read you a little bit about just on the back of his book. In 2010, Rusty says, I stepped out of federal prison after serving a 60-month sentence. I had no money, no connections, no roadmap for what came next. All I had was the determination to never return to that life and a simple, powerful question that would guide my journey. Why not? It's like, wow, that's good. And so then I thought that was so good. And then I found out that Rusty has created a song that kind of puts into the words in the song. And I'm going to see, folks, I don't ever play music on here, but I'm going to share my screen here. So if anybody on YouTube and Spotify, we'll see if we can get this done here. And I'm going to go to LinkedIn, and I'm going to go to share, and I'm going to go to playing the music.
They say your past defines you, but I learned it only defines you if you let it. We are worth more than our worst decisions, and I'm here to prove it. I came home with nothing but a bag and a dream, a heart full of pain but a vision to redeem. Gray sweatpants, white tee, but my soul was clean, 'cause freedom ain't the gate, it's the fight in between. They wrote me off, said he'll fall again, but they ain't seen a man reborn from within. Had to break old chains just to breathe again, had to lose myself to find who I've been. Now I walk with purpose, no mask, no front. I ain't hiding from my past, I confront what it was.
All right. You get it. It's good stuff.
You need to hear the full version.
It is good stuff. And I am so proud of myself that I was able to do that with the screen here. So I can't wait to jump into all this with Rusty. He's a fascinating guy. Before we do that, I want to recognize our show sponsor, Auto Plaza Direct. who likes spending a couple of weekends walking car lots, looking for a car. Then you spend 4 or 5 hours in the dealership to buy a car. It's kind of like a root canal appointment. Well, there is a better way to take away all that pain and hassle of getting a car. It's called Autoplaza Direct. They are your personal car concierge. Just tell them the car you want, what you can pay, and they'll go find that car for you, negotiate your best price. They also offer you warranties and financing. It's all full service. Go to Autoplaza Direct to get started with your personal car concierge. The new hassle-free way, the car buying experience you deserve. Autoplaza Direct. Tell them Brent from Nightmare Success sent you. Folks, I want to share with you a powerful and moving new book you won't want to miss. My Name is Saffron. Voices, silenced, stifled, and taken away by author Saffron Gustafson. This isn't just a story. It's a journey through resilience, survival, and reclaiming your voice after being silenced for far too long. Saffron's story takes you inside the hidden struggles, the pain, and ultimately the triumph of refusing to be defined by circumstances. As Saffron was putting the finishing touches on her book, the prison she had just been released from, Federal Dublin FCI, was permanently closed because of sexual abuse of the women prisoners. If you've ever wondered what it takes to rise from the darkness of places, to find your truth, and to speak it boldly, this book will inspire you. Pick up your copy of My Name is Saffron today, available now on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Trust me, you'll be moved, challenged, and changed by her story. Rusty, welcome in, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. We have been working on this for a while now.
Yes, we have. We stayed with it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So just real quick, I mean, you and I were talking about this song. It's a great song, and I thought, gosh, I can't believe Rusty got this all produced, and so I reached out to him yesterday. I think a direct message. I said, "Hey, what's the deal with this song?" And he said, "I'll tell you when we get on the show. Tell me about how this song happened."
Well, I wanted a song that would go with the logo of Why Not Mindset, and that would also speak to everyone that listens to it. I wanted it to be in the back of your mind, and I wanted it to be one of those songs that you can't get out of your head, that shared the message of you are worth more than your worst mistakes.
Mhm.
And that's the motivation behind this. The lyrics are my own. I made a poem, and first I wrote down what I
I mean,
wanted
there's
my
some of the
story.
words that I just read
There,
about your life. Yeah,
it word for word is my life. I
yeah.
really wanted. I just wrote my story down, and then I turned it into a poem, and then I made it into lyrics, and I made it into a chorus, and then I of course used AI and spent days and days on wanting this kick drum or this beat or this guitar here. I wanted it to really suit everyone's preference. So I wanted a little bit of rap. I wanted a little bit of country. I wanted a little bit of folk music. I wanted a little bit of bluegrass. I wanted it to touch base with
It's got, I
everyone's.
mean, it has a great beat. And
Yeah. So
when you told me that, I mean, obviously the lyrics are fantastic, but when you told me it was all AI produced through your words, but you produced it, I mean, it just blows my mind. Just
yeah.
blows my mind. Where, you know, you and I are both at an age where, in the year 2000, we thought, what's 1999 and then 2000, like
Mm.
in the 80s, like, well, there'll be flying cars and people will be living in these funny houses. No, it's this kind of stuff, this
Mhm.
technology stuff, the internet, everything that's become, these things that we carry around in our pockets that are called phones that basically have you connected to the world. That's what changed everything, not how
It
you get
did.
around or what you live in.
Yes. Yes. When I went into federal prison, flip phones were just coming out, and they were like the thing to have. It was just a
Yeah,
little no color screen, just a gray screen, but a little tiny flip phone. And I watched while I was in prison, just technology
things
just take
change.
off.
Yeah.
And then was able to get my first smartphone. And in 2010, a smartphone what is nothing compared to now, but that blew my mind now. And it seems like every day something else is coming up that's just I almost feel like it's
Well,
surpassing me.
it is. I
It's
mean, like
more.
the AI stuff is just taking us
Yeah.
it's on turbo boost,
Hmm.
and there's so many things going on with it in every field that it's and it just blows your mind. Let's
Yeah.
go back here, Rusty, because you kind of grew up around my parts. I grew up down in Springfield, Missouri. You grew up. Did you grow up in Joplin?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Joplin. I
Yeah,
moved around. I moved around a little bit.
it's like 50
Um,
miles down the street from me when I was
72,
a kid. Yeah,
72 miles.
72.
Yeah, yeah, 72 miles. Yeah, I grew up. I grew up in Joplin.
And if you guys remember Joplin, they had one of the
The
biggest
tornado.
tornadoes that happened. And there's a whole documentary out. I think it was on Netflix. It was just fascinating what that whole town lived through, and how many people were lost, and
It
just
really
crazy.
put Joplin. It really put Joplin on the map. Joplin
Yeah.
was a ghost until that tornado, and that really put Joplin on the map. During that time, I was actually working at the nursing home at the time in Springfield, Missouri, and I had my mother living in Joplin. I said after the tornado, I did all I could to move her to Springfield closer to me and get her closer to me and get her out of Joplin. But I remember that. I remember the sirens going off when it was in Joplin. That when in Springfield we had to move all of the residents into the center because I
Yeah.
was working at a nursing home. So
Mhm.
that was a massive. I remember a couple days after that tornado driving down to Joplin to visit my mother, and
Mhm.
I'm about 20 miles to Joplin, and I'm seeing broken commodes. I'm seeing
Yeah.
debris. I had my niece tell me
Looked like
that
a war zone.
yes, my niece
We
lived
actually,
in.
Rusty, went through what that time period. My kids were playing in a tennis tournament down in Tulsa,
Okay,
and we went through shortly after it happened. It was all still looked like, a moonscape, just
yeah,
anything and everything on this side was gone. It's
yeah,
just that's really something to see. It looks like Gaza, basically. Is those
yeah, yeah,
pictures from Gaza.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It
So
does.
so anyway, you grew up in that town, Joplin.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
did. I was I'm a Joplin boy.
And what
I'm a
was life
Joplin
like
boy.
for you growing up as a kid in Joplin?
It was it began to be a little in the beginning. I was kind of a loner. I
Yeah.
was I didn't really I really
Did you
wasn't
have
a social.
siblings?
I do have a sibling. I don't speak of her. She's since passed, but I don't often talk about my. I have a sister. I don't often talk about her. We really didn't have a great relationship.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I did have a sibling. Um, but I grew up kind of antisocial, just not really having too many friends until about the age of 13, 14, when I began to experiment with selling candy and being the candy guy, being the soda guy at the school, and
Okay.
that really
That was your
learn
hustle.
learning the importance of supply and demand,
Mhm.
learning about supply and demand, and learning that let me also know that I can get free candy and I can get free soda as long as people keep purchasing soda and candy. So I was the soda and candy guy. And then about the age of 14, that moved on to a little bit serious thing, moved on from cigarettes. And that led down the road to other things. And by the age of 16, I dropped out of school because school was getting in the way of me making money. So
So
that
the other things I'm assuming were drugs.
yes,
How
yes.
how does a 14-year-old transition? Because obviously you had figured out how to make money by selling candy and selling cigarettes and that. How do you transition? Was it the people that you were hanging around? Were the people that said, "Hey, if you do this, I can connect you with this guy," and this 14, 15-year-old kid says, "Yeah, I can. Why not? I can make some more money."
Well, I remember the first time I smoked I smoked weed, marijuana. First time I smoked weed, it was at a carnival that they usually had in Joplin at one of the local grocery stores. They had a carnival, and by the time I was like 14, I knew a lot of people because of candy and cigarettes
Mhm.
and whatnot. I knew people, that I would meet at the carnival, and someone just happened to have a joint there, and why not? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and try this joint out. And I enjoyed smoking weed, so
Mhm.
I didn't want to pay for it. I was very curious on wanting to smoke more of it. So I realized, well, I know people that smoke a lot of weed. So how about I just take what I know and continue with marijuana?
Yeah.
And th- and then
Transition.
and then around the age 16, I was delivering some marijuana to someone someone at someone's house, and in the back they were rolling a light bulb, and I was curious about that. I've heard about it, I'd never tried it, and they offered me, would you like to try it? You want a hit? So I tried that hit, and I knew instantly, I like this, I'm going to do a lot more of this. And immediately I seen that a lot of people are doing this way more than I know people are doing marijuana at the age of 16. I can do a lot of this that's fun, and I can also make a lot of money doing this. So I just started reaching out and telling these people, how can I get more of this? And
Mhm.
just,
This being meth.
yes, this being meth.
Yeah.
This and this was actually at 16. This was actually around the meth boom. This was
Yeah.
this was this was at the height of the meth boom in that area.
Yeah.
It was like the meth heartland was in Joplin. It was like
Yeah.
in the Kansas and Joplin. It was the heartland. So I jumped right in from never doing meth before to just being surrounded with cooks, being surrounded with went from, I don't know if I should say, went from bikers to cooks to moving in with cooks to living with cooks to learning how to cook to being hindered by the federal government knocking out the precursors, making the precursors a little hard to get, to then moving on to the ice product. And the ice product was cheaper, better quality, and more abundant.
So at this time, Rusty, that you would have been a teenager. Were you making a good amount of money?
That's why I quit school. Um, I would say about the age of 18, three or four. I'm going to lowball and say $2,500 a week.
Okay, so you
At
were making a lot of money
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
kid.
I'm going to lowball. Yeah, yeah. I
Because I
I
mean,
I,
at
I
that
did.
time, kids at that time, they're either going to college, they're doing some type of part-time job. They don't
Yeah.
really have any money, but you had a lot of money. Um, that had to. Were you living like you had a lot of money, or were you kind of keeping it on the down low?
I was not keeping it on the down low. I didn't really. I was in a small town, and I was living motel to motel to motel. It, I was just it from the age of like 16 to 19, I would say, was just a blur party. It
Yeah.
was just it. I tell
And
people a
where was
lot that,
mom and dad in this scenario?
well, my father has never been in the picture. My father
Okay,
was
so
never.
he was out at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, my mother. It broke my mother's heart, but she kicked me out at 16 years old when she came downstairs and saw what I was doing about 5:30 in the morning, which she came down and saw. I you're you're one of the first persons. I really don't like to glorify my past, but I'll go ahead. I really don't like to glorify my past because I don't want it to seem.
No,
I don't want.
I mean, there's horrible consequences to
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
had to go through
But
after this.
but yeah, at 16, I was kicked out because my mother came down, and what she saw was scales and a half pound of methamphetamines and a big bag full of cash. And she told me, she was crying and said, "Son, you're going to go to prison.
Mhm.
I'm not going to have any part of this. You're not going to. I'm not going to lose my house. You're going to have to leave."
Mhm.
And okay, uh, that's fine and good. I'll just live at motels, and just at that time, it wasn't necessarily for me. It wasn't the addiction of drugs. I I did there in the end there was an addiction, but I was more addicted with the influence, with the importance of being needed, of the importance of that's what was addictive to me
Mhm.
was being the person everybody wanted to be around.
Mhm.
People don't understand how addictive that can be.
Sure.
Yes, I don't want to take away from the powerful addiction of substances, but also being the most important person in the town, being the most important person in multiple states, being the person that
Yeah, no,
everyone
I
relies on.
Rusty, I get that because I mean, I came from a world of being a CEO of a company, and there's certain little pieces of things that I miss. Work was great, but like being able to walk into a room and buy everybody dinner or buy
Mm,
everybody drinks. Or having the best tickets to offer people to go to a basketball or a football game. That
yeah,
people were saying, "Oh, that's so nice of Brent." Actually, that was really making me feel good.
yeah,
It is an addictive thing,
yeah.
money can be addictive, growth can be addictive, all these different things can be an addiction. Like you said, it wasn't so much the drug itself going into your system, it was what it did for you around
Mhm.
everybody that
Yeah,
was around you.
yeah,
Yeah,
it really was. That was it got to a point where it got to a point, Brent, where money was not currency in my
yeah.
world, product was currency, and that, um, money was just was just what fueled the train that brought in the product.
Mhm,
For an example, just for an example, I reached out to someone and told them I wanted a pair of night vision goggles.
mhm,
I just want some night vision goggles just for the fun of it. And that night, what was delivered to me was something I didn't, I don't know if I was, if I as a citizen was allowed to have, but it was a military case. It was a long gray military case wrapped in saran wrap. And when you opened it up, it had all these paperwork, but it was a night vision scope
mhm,
that when you turned it on and you looked through the scope, yes, it was night vision, but it had little red dots that when you looked at people, it told you how far away they were. It told you the wind velocity. It told you, and I just wanted a pair of night vision goggles. That's the type of influence that I speak of that is very addictive.
mhm.
Is you get everything you
Get what
want.
you
You
want.
get yes,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Instead of what you need, you get what you want.
yeah.
Um, okay, so this how long does this go on before your nightmare lands on you that you've been hit? I mean, how long are you able to run this particular game?
It that was just the very beginning. It really upticked around 2002 when
Mhm,
the person that I was originally, um, getting from was arrested, and he did a high speed chase. He was arrested, and then
What'd you think when that happened?
I thought everything was going to slow down because I didn't know anybody else. No, and nobody else knew anybody else because it was basically coming from me, unless
Mhm.
you were a low level cook or you were a low level a,
Right.
a low level. If you was there by this time, I was already connected with a traveling carnival that traveled around multiple states delivering. I had that going on the side. So I there was large amounts going on, and then all of a sudden that just came to an abrupt stop. This is around 2002. And that lasted for about a week when this person was arrested. And then I got a knock on my front door.
Mhm.
And I answered the front door, and there were three gentlemen. Um, and one of them only spoke English and was the translator. The two of them didn't speak English. And the translator said that he knows who I am. If we could come in, we want to talk business. And basically told me, we are the ones who was doing this for this person. He let us know you are the one who we need to get in
Yeah,
contact
you're
with.
it.
Business does not stop. And
Mhm.
here's our offer. And here comes three times as much product with three times as much cash flow at even a lower price.
Mhm.
And we're out of town and you're in charge. Kind of not really asking, but at the
Just
same
saying you're it now. Yeah.
tag you're it.
Mhm.
and I was over the moon, and I was like, well, let's just rock and roll. Let's do this.
Let's get going.
And that was where that was that was where that was where the downfall began. That's where it no longer was fun. It was work. That's where it was. By the time, I believe it was in 2004, by the time the flashbangs hit and they came rappelling in through my windows,
Mhm.
I was ready for it to be over. When they pointed the guns at me and told me to get on the ground, they didn't have me get on my knees. I fell to my knees and was thanking God this is over. Thank God it's
So
over.
you were
Be-
worn out. And did you know the heat was on you, Rusty? Did you know you were getting ready to get hit?
I did. I did actually. Um, at the time I had my speed dial. Speed dial number 1 was my bondsman. Speed dial number 2 was my lawyer, and speed dial number 3 was my mother. So when I in Joplin, or maybe in Springfield, you might know this. If you don't have a driver's license, which I lost my license a month after I got him when I was 16, if you don't have a driver's license, it's usually mandatory. They take you to jail. Well, at this one particular time when I knew it was over, I got pulled over. Of course, I had several cars by then, but I was in an '85 Cadillac DeVille, no
Okay.
Seville, Cadillac '85 one of the long Cadillacs.
One of
My
the big
really nice.
ones.
Yeah, yeah. I had that all fancied out, but I got pulled over in that car, and I knew I was going to jail. So the second the lights hit, I pulled up the phone and I called my bondsman, and I said, "I'm getting ready to go to jail. I just got pulled over. I need you to get on it." And left a message for my lawyer. The officer came and he knew who I was. I told him that I didn't have a license. I'm on the phone with my bondsman. I'm getting ready to go to jail. And he told me that here's a ticket for you to show up in court for driving while suspended. So I called my bondsman back, which surprised me. I called my bondsman back and I said, I guess I'm not going to jail. They just gave me a ticket. And she said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." I was like, "What do you mean?" She says, "You're on a do not detain list, and
Oh wow.
that means you're under investigation."
Oh man.
Because you're supposed to be going to jail if you get pulled over for driving while suspended. That's Joplin. And if they gave you a ticket, that means they're not supposed to apprehend you. And when they run your name, it says do not apprehend. So I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. So I knew right then I'm under
Yeah.
investigation by the FBI.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know what? Let's just ball till you fall. And that's
Okay.
what I did. That's what I did. And fall I did. I fell hard.
Okay. So they come in, they bust into your place, they take you. What happens next?
I sit out in that little tank vehicle of theirs for
Mhm.
probably 6 or 7 hours
Oh wow.
while they take my money and order like nine. I watched like 9 pizzas being delivered. There was I was under the impression that you're not going to find anything at my house because I don't keep anything at my house. I keep everything. At the time I had 3 separate housings. I had a place for product in a house, I had a place for cash in a house, and then I have my house.
Mhm.
And I don't keep anything at my house, and that's where you just came in. So tear it apart, feel free. But what I didn't realize was in my vent when they brought in the dogs, when they in my because they told me where's everything at, we're going to bring dogs in. I said there's nothing, go for it, go for it.
Mhm.
And they said, well, we have been told that there are 5-gallon buckets throughout your garage that are just packed full. That's not true. There's nothing at my house, but go ahead, check. They brought dogs, and the dogs found in a vent that I forgot about a sock that was taped inside the floor vent that had they weighed up 40 point something grams that
Nice.
I completely forgot about. So that was that was a possession charge.
Okay.
And that was but even if they didn't find that,
They were
I
going to
was under
find. Yeah.
I was
Right.
under indictment. The indictment
Right.
you know as well as I do with an indictment. Indictments are about 90 what they have a 98%
Yeah.
conviction rate. So
Yeah.
they build a case. So when they come and get you, there's no getting out of it.
Right.
So
Especially on the federal side. Now there's, on
yeah,
the state side, there's a lot of little extra talking and doing and who
yeah,
and all those different things. Federal side, if you're tagged, you're probably, I mean, an
yeah.
indictment is almost a conviction.
I found out through my lawyer that they have I was under investigation over 3 years. They have been
Wow.
watching me and
They've
letting
been
me
building
do
that long.
yeah. Yeah. So they and I also found out that there was over 16 people that
Mhm.
was able to corroborate everything, and I had what they call ghost dope. I'm sure you've heard of that term,
Oh yeah.
the ghost dope.
I had a few people on here that have been
So
part of that.
with my lawyer, it started at no less than 50, no more than 150 kilos is what it started at. And then my lawyer, my lawyer fought it. It caught $143,000 later, and a year down the road, it came up to the possession with intent to distribute of 40 grams.
Okay.
And my lawyer told me, you're not getting out of this, and this is going to be the best deal you're going to get. You're out of money. You've paid me everything. You don't have any more
Yeah,
money.
I'm done.
You don't have any
You're
more
done.
money. This is the best deal. And they've come back and said, if you say no to this last deal, they're going to go to trial, and you're looking at 297 months.
That's a long time.
So if you go ahead and plead guilty to the possession of the 40 grams with intent to distribute methamphetamines, we'll give you 60 months. And I said, do I have any other options? And he told me, no, you don't have any other options, and you're out of money.
Mhm.
So
He reaffirmed that you were out of money, which meant
you're
he
at,
was done.
yeah, he said, so I'm telling you as your lawyer, take this deal and don't go to trial, and just take your lumps. And I was done anyways. Like I told you before, when they came in, I was done.
You're ready. You were worn
It,
out.
it
Yeah.
wasn't fun. It wasn't fun anymore. It was tiring. It was work. It was stressful.
Yeah.
It was hard keeping track of five different states.
Yeah.
It
How many
was
people
just
did you have working with you? Like when you've got that much going on, because
I had
you got to trust people.
I had 5 people I had 5 people under me,
Okay.
and those people had multiple people under them,
Okay.
and they also threatened to hit me with organized crime.
Yeah.
That's what they tried to threaten me with. If I was going to go to trial, all this was going to happen.
Right.
Organized crime,
Right. Through the whole
I
RICO
built
conspiracy, all that
I
stuff.
built
Yeah.
I built up an organization. I had 5 people under me. Those people had multiple people under them, and it was those people that got caught with product and said exactly who it was coming from. So that's where
Mhm.
all that
Yeah.
began.
Made the investigation easier for them as they work their way up to the top. Okay, so you decide, 60 months doesn't sound that bad now that you've put it up beside 200 some odd months. And I think it's funny that they do it in months because like when I was sentenced to 60 months, I was thinking 60, it's 5 years.
Yeah,
5 years. That's five
yeah.
years. Where'd you go?
I went to Forest City, Arkansas,
And I meant to ask
FCC.
you, were you immediately remanded when were you immediately taken into custody or did you have time to get to where you were
That,
going?
that's a good question. I was immediately taken from Joplin to Springfield, the Springfield Greene
Okay.
County Jail in the federal hold. They had a
Yeah.
federal hold there, and albeit this was at nighttime. This was different to me because it was by the time I got to Springfield County Jail, it was nighttime, and they shuffled me. This was about 10 o'clock at night. They shuffled me to the courthouse, the United States courthouse, at 10 o'clock at night, and I went before a judge, and the judge read me my charges,
Mhm.
and it, it wasn't there where I said not guilty or guilty. He just read me my charges, and then they sent me back to the Greene County Jail, and they put me on what was it? If I am right, it was a $10,000 unsecured bond.
Okay.
I think that's what it was called. So
Yeah.
I was able to be released, go back home, get my affairs in order, contact a better lawyer
Mhm.
that was more equipped for what was going on,
Mhm.
and go back to the woods and get my duffel bag full of money
Mhm.
and give it
Yeah.
away. Give it away.
Yeah, give it away.
The first thing
That's a
the
song.
the first thing he said was he looked at my case. First thing he said is, "I'm going to need $50,000 right now to take your
Yeah,
case."
yeah.
And I thought, okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah, 50. Okay, yeah, I got plenty more.
Uh-huh.
You don't have plenty more. Before it's all over with,
It,
you're done.
yeah, no, the game works that way. They make sure that they've drained you
Yep.
so that it makes it easier for you to be pliable to whatever they need.
Yeah.
Okay, so you end up in Ford City, right?
Forest City, Arkansas, at the FCC medium, and that is because they go on. You may know they go on the point system, and
Right.
because I didn't have a GED, and I did have a warrant for my arrest for driving while suspended in Wright County, Missouri.
Mhm.
That's where they gave me a ticket because I was out of town. They gave me a ticket and I never showed up. So that gave me a warrant
Mhm.
for my arrest. So because I had a warrant and I didn't have my GED, didn't have any education, that raised my points. So I went to a medium security. So when I went to the medium security,
What did you
my
think
lawyer,
about that, Rusty? Because I
uh,
mean, you know,
yeah.
when you get sentenced, you start like looking at, okay, what can I find out about what this unknown world is? What did you think about that you were going to go to a medium?
Well, while I was in the, while, when I went to my final court date and I was handed my sentence, I do remember, and I speak about this in the universities. I do remember looking back and seeing absolutely nobody in the pews, in the seats, and
Mhm.
I'll bring that up a little bit later.
You're on your own, right?
The importance of that. I looked behind me and I saw nobody. So he handed me my 60 months, and everyone accepted it, and I was taken away. And while I was in the federal hold in Greene County for for a few months, a couple months, waiting on it, what they call waiting to pull chain, waiting for them to come get, for the U.S. Marshals to come get you. There was a older gentleman in there that I started talking to and getting to know, and he was in between. He was from federal, but he had to fight a case, so they sent him back to fight a case. And I kind of not really befriended him, but started talking with him, and he gave me some great words of advice that I've given to other people,
Mhm.
that because I'd never been there, and I wanted to know, how can I do this?
Mhm.
And the words of advice were very powerful. He told me, never gamble, never get in debt, and mind your own business, and you'll do just fine.
Mhm.
And always remember, no matter how no matter how bad you think you are, there's always someone badder in there.
That's
And
right.
prison can go as can be as hard as you want it to be. Your time can be as rough as you want it to be. If you want to go in there and just bang all day,
Mhm. You can do that.
you can't keep up with them. But if you want to go in there and you want to work on yourself and you want to take care of yourself and you want to keep yourself busy with your mind, you can definitely do that. So just follow those rules. Don't write.
Which if you think about it, that's pretty good rules for life too, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But what it doesn't prepare you for, and what I speak of, is the mindset that has to go into
Mindset's
going
everything.
going into uh, an environment, a rigid, controlled environment.
Mhm.
You have most people out here that have not been locked up know they can walk up to someone and say, "Hello, Brent. My name is Rusty. It's nice to meet you."
Mhm.
That type of attitude, that type of mindset has to go away. That's not going to work inside
Mhm.
federal prison. It's not going to work. You're not going to walk up to someone. What what they're going to do is look at you like, "What's your angle? Why are you talking
Mhm.
to me?
Why
I
are you
don't know
trying to
you."
talk to me? Right.
Yeah, what's your angle? And that you learn and you desensitize your mind and you get into that mindset, and that becomes your mindset, to where when you see something violent or you see something, you get used to it. You get used to count times. It becomes routine. You get used to your canteen day, your
Mhm.
store day. You get used to shower time. You get used to when it's time to go to the yard. You get used to that controlled, scheduled, rigid environment.
Well,
And
I
then,
think what a lot of that too, Rusty, is that's that thing that they talk about institutionalized. They talk
yeah,
about in Shawshank Redemption, and what's weird about it.
Mhm.
and it's in the movie Shawshank, is that that ugly system that you just talked about, that everybody really just doesn't really like, but they do because it's kind of what they do every day. They do it. Nobody's going anywhere. That also becomes starts to become a comfort because you know it. You
Yes.
know it. And as the longer you're in it, the more further away freedom is to the outside. And that's why you see a lot of different people really freak out when they get, 6 months close to the door or whatever, because they don't want to admit it, but they've become more comfortable in this ugly, awful routine than they are about going into a world now that is further away than what they know. And that's a really weird dynamic.
And it's also the same as switching from a medium to a low security, like we
Right.
spoke of.
Yeah.
I was comfortable with that violent, controlled, rigid environment of being locked in
Well, and
for
Rusty,
count
before you
time.
say that, because a lot of people don't know what we're talking about, it just sounds worse, that medium. But one of the big differences with a medium and a low or maximum is they have scheduled moves. That means that
Yes,
you can't move in the day freely. That means you have to move within the hours and they lock you in place wherever you are.
yes,
And then at night, after count, you are actually locked into your cell. Like where I was at a federal camp in Leavenworth, I would freely walk to the food warehouse a mile away,
uh,
and go to work. There were no scheduled moves. And, we had our counts, but we either were in a huge room with, 50 bunk beds, 100 men, or we had 2-man cells, but they were doors that you just opened and closed.
mhm.
So that's a huge difference in how you live your life. Now, I know that um, the other thing is that your world is more structured that way, but it can also be more tense and violent.
And it becomes your comfort zone. So when you shift from the medium to a low, which there is no cells, there is no doors, it's just an open dorm
Mhm,
with bunks
mhm.
and maybe a little concrete petition, but there's no structure. And you get used to take, like we said, you get used to taking your boots to the shower with you. You get used to being on guard at any time to what they call boot up.
Right.
You get used to that, and
Mhm.
you get comfortable with count time. After count time, the doors get locked, and now you're safe.
Yep.
No one's going to harm you except your cellmate. And as long as you keep a good rapport with him, then you can sleep easy. You
Don't have to worry
and
about
that
anybody coming up to you. Right.
and so you have to shift your mindset again on how to navigate
How do you
that,
adapt?
and then you have to adapt to that, and then they expect when it's time for you to get released, they expect you just to be able to flip a switch and
Snap your
just
fingers.
conform right back into society. And you've lived your life as I I wasn't Rustin Pangburn. I was federal inmate one eight seven nine
Right. You had a
seven zero
number.
zero
Yeah.
four five. And that's who I was.
38224044, which you don't ever forget that because you have it in your, and it's on your clothes. It's the way you report to people.
Yeah.
I want to take a break here, Rusty, because I want to talk about how you transformed yourself in prison, not only mentally, but physically, and physically by a lot. Um, Before we do that, I want to say, a lot of people don't like how they show up online. Many individuals think there's just no hope when it comes to managing your reputation on Google. There is hope. It's called the Discoverability Company, and they can help you. Whether you're building a reputation from scratch or you're repairing search results from a negative news story, Discoverability can also help you how you're portrayed on popular AI services like ChatGPT. To learn more, visit discoverability.co, not .com.co. Listeners of Nightmare Success can take $100 off with coupon code Nightmare Success. And the Nightmare Success podcast is sponsored by the White Collar Support Group, the world's first support group devoted to people navigating the white collar criminal justice system. I'm a member of the White Collar Support Group, and I can tell you this is a bunch of people who help each other through the criminal justice journey for free. Whether you're just starting your journey or you've made it through to the other side, this is great space for you. Join us on Zoom Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, go to prisonist.org. It's prisonist.org. Okay, Rusty. So I want to talk about you're, I mean, you write a book about mindset matters. We've just been talking about how mindset matters when you enter in an unknown world and have to figure out how to adapt. But you went in as a man who weighed over 400 pounds and came out 189 pounds. Wow. Walk us through this world that you transformed in.
Well, first, as someone who's also been in federal prison, food is not close by, and you have to eat. So you have to walk with Forest City. It was almost a mile to the chow hall, to mainline,
Yeah.
when they called mainline.
Right.
It was almost a mile walk, and I remember my first week. I do remember my first week walking to go eat made my legs so sore that it was almost impossible to make it up when you got to the chow hall itself. There's almost like a 2% incline to get up to the chow hall. My legs were not strong enough or too sore to make that climb. It was excruciating.
Mhm.
So I just
You're carrying a
I
lot of
knew.
weight.
I was 480 plus pounds. I
I mean,
I
that's
don't
a lot of
remember.
weight to carry to
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, I went from over 480 to 189 when I left, and just starting walking back and forth to the chow hall and started walking out to the yard and start doing walking, I noticed that I started losing weight,
Mhm.
and I also quit smoking cigarettes. So I started going from always being wore out to getting my breath a little bit.
Mhm.
And so I just, what started as me just, I'm not really going to be into it. What I'm going to be is I'm just going to go out to the yard. I'm going to walk the track.
Mhm.
And I would just routinely walk the track also to keep my mind going, just to keep
Mhm.
myself going, just to keep myself busy, because I was not going to participate in I was not going to participate in being involved in the other groups. I
Mhm.
was I did
Isn't
what
it
they called.
amazing though how far or how long you can walk, in prison? I mean, I feel like I walked all the way across the United States, the number of hours. Like I would put like a Mizzou football game on and
Yeah,
listen to the
yeah,
whole game. It was like
yeah,
4 hours and I'd be
yeah,
walking the whole time. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And when when I left, when I left, I was running 9 miles a day. Every single day, I
Wow.
was running 9 miles a day. I remember my first mile. I timed it. My first mile that I shuffled. It wasn't a walk, but it wasn't a run. It took me 21 minutes to reach my first mile without stopping, and it was a shuffle. And then I just listened to my body. My body told me to speed up. My body told me to, and I had people. There was actually people cheering me
Yeah,
on.
I bet.
There were people saying, "Look
You were
at you, man."
entertainment.
There was like, check this out. I was
Yeah.
actually, I was actually in the low when Ti was there. When the rapper Ti was there, I was
Mhm.
there, and he actually came up and said, "I see you, big man. I see you. Look at you go.
Uh-huh.
Look at you." So I actually got a compliment from Ti,
From TI.
and yeah, yeah. So by the time I left the medium, I was about 300 pounds. I left the
Okay.
medium and went to the low. And by that time, I was in it. I was eating right. I was just eating peanuts and tuna. I really wasn't even
And
eating
did you
eating
also
it.
get your GED in that time period?
I did. I got my GED in the medium, and
Yeah.
I actually reached out to my lawyer, even though he told me our services are done. I reached out to my lawyer and told him, I need your help getting this warrant taken care of, and then he got it taken care of where it was time served, and then sent me a letter, which was funny. Sent me a letter and said, now our business is concluded. There's no reason to further contact me. So he basically gave me that freebie. he
That's
he got
good.
that warrant. So once he
That's a
got
big
that
deal
warrant,
though.
I got my GED, got my warrant lifted. So they transferred me from the medium to the low because my points got lowered. And once I got to the low, I really got focused. I really just focused on myself, focused on what was going to happen, preparing myself. I didn't know how I was going to do in the outside world, but for the time being, I'm going to get myself healthy because I know I'm going to have to work. I've never had a job before. When I got out, I had never filled out an application before. I've never been employed.
Yeah.
When the feds put my paperwork in front of me and talked to me, it showed taxes that zero. I've never paid taxes. I've never filled out an application. So I was at the low. I spent time getting myself prepared. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to be healthy.
Right.
So I just ran and ended up timing my runs and working on myself and eating right and getting healthy and doing exercises and push-ups and jumping jacks and running and just focusing on myself.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. The residential RDAP, residential drug alcohol.
I went through that.
Yeah. So, and I did too. And that's a very rigid and cult like environment.
Oh, it was awful. It
That
was
lasts,
awful.
yeah, it lasts for 9 months. But that's one of the things back, when I was and I got out in 2000 into 2016. Now there's the First Step Act. There's second chance. You can get more time off, but yeah, RDAP's tough.
Yeah.
There are some things in it, but the problem with, like where we had it, the people who were teaching RDAP were wanting to be COs. They wanted to be cops and
Yeah.
do anything to set people back or to say, if somebody's just trying to have any of those things. So even though you get a year off, it's talking about mindset, Rusty. You got to keep your mind right and something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. When I did the RDAP program, and what I remember about it was them basically just holding the program. I really didn't see any use in the program except that it was gonna guarantee me 6 months at the halfway house. That's what
Yeah,
it was that's what it was gonna guarantee
that's a
me.
real value
But
and gives
but
you a
in
year off.
in the scope of things, you had to be up and out of your bed the entire day from 6 a.m. until the last count time.
Right.
If and like you said, they walked around like COs. They would walk around, and if they saw you laying on your bed, you could get in trouble.
Hmm.
You could sit on your bed, but there's no sleeping. So from 6 a.m. until about 7, there is no sleeping. So I just took advantage of that, and I just stayed out in the yard and ran and
Worked out.
exercised and exercised. And of course, just being cheered on by everyone
Yeah,
watching.
yeah. That had to feel so good though.
I didn't notice it until probably about really, I saw myself in the mirror still as the heavy person I was
Yeah.
until one day it hit me, Brent. One day it hit me. I was walking to my job, which I was a GED clerk. I was walking to my job, and as I was walking by the mirror, I had my khakis all tucked in, and as I was walking, I just happened to glance over at a reflection of my reflection in a window, and I saw the skinny me,
Yeah.
and it was it brought tears to my eyes because I
Yeah.
I
You don't
looked in the
because you
mirror.
didn't see yourself that way.
I Yeah, until I actually snuck a view of myself, and I saw myself as a side view as just this little skinny person. When before you've seen that you've seen
Yeah,
it before.
can you put those up there? Yeah, there's before and there's after. That's something else, man. That is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else. Well, let's talk about this, Rusty. So always when you serve a certain amount of time, you get that, call the office, you get your out date. What are you thinking about getting out?
I'm thinking about where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do, and how in the heck am I going to do this?
Mhm.
And you're handed paperwork that they notify they if I remember correctly, I was handed paperwork where the government notified Greene County Sheriff's Department, and let them know that a known drug trafficker is coming into your area, and then a letter that says we accept. So that automatically lets you just breaks you down to let you know we're not letting Rustin Pangburn come to you. We're not telling you Rusty Pangburn's coming. We're telling you a drug a drug trafficker, a known drug trafficker is
Tattoo
coming
you
into
right
your
on the
area.
beginning. Yeah.
Right. So
Right on your forehead.
before you even get let out, you're being released and you're being released as a criminal, as a crime
Right.
instead of a person. And that's
Right.
that's what I tell about reentry. Reentry isn't just a moment, it's a mindset.
Mhm.
It Release is learning to believe that you are worth more than your worst decisions. And you have to get that mindset ready. So when the world taps you on the shoulder and tells you that you're broken and that you're not going to make it, you have to be able to dig in and dig deep and answer back, why not? Why not
Yes.
believe I deserve that second chance? Why not believe I can have a second chance? Why not believe I deserve that better life?
Well,
And Brent,
let's talk about that, because let's talk about that guy that got off the bus with his
Mhm.
white t-shirt and gray sweats on. Um, because you didn't have anything, you didn't have any connections, you didn't have any money.
No.
Um, you didn't know anybody there. Uh, what happened next?
Well, I stepped off the bus and I did have a little bit of money. I believe I had about $72. I had like
Okay.
72, which is it's no money.
It's no
I
money, but you
It's
had
no
some
money.
money.
The first thing I did was treat myself to a pizza.
Yeah,
I bought me a
sure.
pizza. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought me a pepperoni and cheese pizza at the halfway house. Bought me
Uh-huh.
a pizza, and then the next day I was sent to the director of the halfway house's office, and the director handed me a 2-week bus pass and told me my bed is very valuable and that if I'm not going to contribute, there's plenty of people that need my bed and that are waiting for my bed. So you have a couple weeks to show us you're going to get a job or we're going to send you back.
Mhm.
So I was told, here's a bus pass, get a job.
Figure it out.
I, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know any routes to take. I didn't have any mentorship or any guidance or anyone to say, "Hey, I feel what you're going
Yeah.
through. I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
Here's what I did. Here's what might work for you because here's what I did. Here's my experience." And that's what I'm trying to do with Why Not Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
When
Trying
I
to do
first
all
got
the things that you didn't get.
provide the things that I did not have, mentorships, guidance, tools, opportunity, accountability is what I'm trying to provide. So to get back to your question, what was going on when I stepped off the bus? I took the taxi to the halfway house, and the next day I remember at that time I didn't cut my hair my entire bit, so I had hair down to my waist. I went and took the bus and took it to the middle of town, and I found a barber shop, and I went in and I said, just cut it off. Just cut my hair off. And then I walked across the street to a thrift store and I got me some hand me down clothes. I actually have in my closet the very first shirt I ever purchased.
Wow.
And I keep that not,
As a reminder.
I yeah, I keep that as a reminder. I know I'm never going to be able to fit into that shirt again, but it's my little trophy of where I came from, where I've been, and what I'm going to keep doing.
Mhm.
And that's why when I open my closet every day, it might be the smallest, oldest shirt in that closet, but it's my trophy. It's my win. It's my motivation to let me know you bought this for $3 or $4 at a thrift store, and now you own a home. You look at where you're going now. Now you're the founder of a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Every day it gives me that strength. Every morning I open the closet to put new clothes on. I
Mhm.
see that shirt, and that is my fuel
Mm.
to keep going.
I love that. So you finally, I mean, from what I can read in, your backstory, you were riding the bus around, you're riding a bicycle, you got a job, you saved money, like as frugal as you had to have been to get a car. So when did you think things started changing for you, Rusty? Oh, your next step.
My first job was as a telemarketer, and I didn't like that job, but
But it teaches you a lot.
I wasn't going to quit.
Yeah.
why I took that job is because I heard so many no's from so many companies, so many businesses,
Right.
even from fast food.
Yeah.
There was one fast food that said right on the application, if you have any tattoos visible with a short sleeve shirt, need not apply. And I'm covered.
Uh-huh.
I'm covered. So that even people thinking, you know what, I can just get me a fast food job. No,
No,
probably
not
not.
necessarily.
Not,
Right.
not necessarily. So a person at the halfway house, which you're actually not allowed to conjugate, you're not really not allowed to speak, but that person at the halfway house says, "Hey, have you tried telemarketing? I work there. Go give them a shot."
Mhm.
And I went in there with my normal spiel because I got tired of putting on the application my entire charge, so I just said, "We'll explain in person."
Mhm.
And when I went into the manager's office at the telemarketing place, I went into my spiel and he just stopped me. He said, "Let me stop you right there. I don't care. I don't care. Can you talk on the phone?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can you start tomorrow at 9 a.m.?" I said, "Yeah, I can." And he shook my hand and said, "You have a job." That was my kickstart. That was
Mhm.
saying, well, if I can get this first yes after these last 500 no's,
Right.
then then if I can get the first yes, I can get a second yes, and I can get a
Right.
third yes, and the yeses are going to keep coming. And that was my motivation. I didn't like telemarketing. I didn't like it.
Mhm.
So on my days off, I would look for other jobs. I didn't go around and see movie. Some people would go see a movie. Some people would go meet up with a girl. Some people would go. On my days off, I would go out and look for another job. And I
Mhm.
found that at a nursing home, and I got accepted into doing laundry.
Okay.
And from that laundry, I was promoted to janitor. Eventually, got promoted to janitor, and that's where I met my future wife today, Ashley. Met my wife, and she encouraged me to talk with the DON, the Department of Nursing at that nursing home, and say I want to be a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. And they really, really liked me there. They sent me to school to be a CNA. So
Mhm.
that was my motivation of saying, okay, now I don't just have a job. Now I have a career
Mhm.
because as a CNA, you can once you get your CNA license, you can just sky's the limit. You can become an LPN, you can become an RN, you can become a nurse, you can become a medical
Right.
technician. There's so many
What
avenues you
lets
can
you
go
in?
down.
Right.
So it's a career, and that was my why not moment right there.
Mhm.
Is now I don't have a job, I have a career.
And you worked your way from doing laundry to janitor to they're going to pay for you to go get this.
In CNA. And I did that for several years. The wife and I both did. She was a CNA when I met her,
Okay.
and then we decided we want more. We
Okay.
want a better life because we don't want to stay in this medical path. We want to try
Mhm.
something else. So Brent, we googled what is the highest paid profession without a college degree,
Yeah.
and the top three, one of them is transportation.
Mhm.
So we looked into going to school together. And that's what we did. We made that jump by saying, you know what, let's save up. Let's save up and let's get about 3 months of rent built up where we're living. We was living in a one-bedroom apartment. Let's
Mhm.
save up and pay 3 months of rent and let's go to trucking school. Let's just go.
Mhm.
Let's just make that leap and see if this works. And we have been driving a truck ever since. We're team drivers. And some people say, I've heard people say that driving a truck will either make or break a relationship. It's done nothing but bring us closer together. She is my rock. She is my shelter from the rain, Brent. She has been my, what do they call it? Ride or die.
Uh-huh.
She has been the
That's
one
awesome.
who has always been there and supportive and
Yeah.
just she's been my solid rock, Brent.
I
And
love
and,
that. And
and
I
that's
love you guys. You did it together and
yeah,
found each other at the nursing home being nurses.
yeah, yeah.
That's really great. So how did you begin to venture into speaking, writing, and getting into then, the nonprofit part? How did that all
That's
evolve?
that's a that's a good question. While I was in Springfield, we were driving around, while I'm traveling, I could see individuals at a bus stop,
Mhm.
and I could recognize the stance. I could recognize the
I
the
know that
posture.
person,
I
right?
could recognize the posture, and I could understand what that person's going through because I know it,
Been there.
and it would almost bring me back and break my heart because I knew that struggle. I didn't know their story, but that wasn't important. I knew what was I knew their mindset at that time. But what really solidified it was when we was in transition from one trucking company to the other. We had to turn in a truck in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we was going to switch to a trucking company here in Springfield, Missouri that we decided was going to be a better fit for us.
Mhm.
I had to go turn that truck in Little Rock, Arkansas at that company and take the a Greyhound bus from Little Rock back to Springfield.
Mhm.
And while I was at the Greyhound bus station in Springfield, I saw two gentlemen standing over off in the corner in gray sweats and white t-shirt, and they were not, I knew their mindset, and they were all alone. And I just walked up to them and I said, hey brothers. I said, it looks like you guys are fresh out. I've been there. Congratulations. It gets better. And I struck up a conversation with them, and we talked the entire time until it was time for me to catch my bus. And that just made me say, this is what I want to do. So it was last November that I made my first video, and I just wanted to do this. I just wanted to help at first. At first, what I wanted to do was just give some motivational speak. Hey, I know what you're going through.
Mhm.
I know it's tough out there. I know it can be hard, but if I can do it, so can you. Here's my story. And I started making more videos, and then I just started getting deeper into it. I found LinkedIn, and I
Mhm.
started talking on the LinkedIn community and seeing all the other people doing what's going on LinkedIn and saying, I can do that as well. I
Mhm.
can do that as well. And at first, I just wanted to be a motivational speaker. And then I thought, you know what? Springfield doesn't have what's going on in other places. So I want to make I want to make a program to provide everything that I didn't have because I know that people are struggling out there. I know people are going through what I went through, and because I'm no exception. So that's where why not mindset was born. That's where that's where why not was born, was having that mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm not, well, like I said, I'm no longer doing this for me. I'm doing this for the person that's getting out tomorrow.
Mhm.
The guy, for the man that's going to get out tomorrow who doesn't know where to go. For the woman who is tired of the broken cycle but doesn't believe she's worthy of a change. It's for all the people that the system has just given up on. But I want to create why not mindset because we won't.
I love that. And just this morning, Rusty, I a guy that has been on the show. His name's Glenn Martin, and he had a post on LinkedIn. And he was talking about that something brought him back to that day when he was fumbling. I think he only had $3 left. He had to make it out to Brooklyn, and he was fumbling with his phone trying to figure out, the directions to where he was going. And this person who was on the sidewalk with him looked and could see his stress level
Mhm.
was at a peak high. And she said, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Well, I'm trying to get to this interview and my job." And she said, she just gave him $10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was it. Walked away. But that $10 probably, as Glenn talked about, changed his mindset. He
Mhm.
got the job. He wasn't he had $13 now, so he could give back. But that moment in time and that gesture of what you're talking about, Rusty, can actually change somebody's moment to changing their life. And all sometimes what someone needs is, hey, I know where you've been.
Mhm.
Here's what I did. Here's what you could do. Here's somebody I know. When you were talking about Springfield in that area, Sean Stegman's somebody that I interviewed that's from Springfield, Missouri, and they make uh, Seven Brews coffee, the modular things down there in Springfield. But I think it's 90 some odd percent of their people
Yeah.
that they hire are justice impacted people, and it's because Sean is, and they also found a workforce there, and those are
I
the type of things.
I just had lunch with Brandon Funk and Andrew Bieber, who are from CMC, the Creative Modular Construction
Yeah,
and the Seven Brew. I just had
yeah,
lunch with those two gentlemen,
small
and
world.
we struck up a partnership
Yeah,
of potential job placements
there you go.
for people that come to me, and it was a great lunch. And so shout out to CMC Seven
Yeah,
Brew.
and
We
and,
we
and
we,
they
we
and they've
just
got a
over
great,
lunch.
yeah, and they have a great company. Uh, they have an unbelievable support system,
They do. They
and
do.
and I'm a big backer of everything they're doing, and they did it somewhat, looking at where do I get people who really need an opportunity, because we need people, we're growing, and it really worked out well for them. And I hope more and more people who own businesses know about that, because that's a great example of they're a they're the next Starbucks,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
are. Yeah, they are.
growing with a led company of people who've been justice impacted. And I think it's a great story. So,
My first mentee, his name is Blake Lammers. My
uh
first mentee works at CMC.
that's
Work,
great.
works for CMC. So it
Small
it
world.
it it really. And I met Blake through Kristen Johnson. She was on another podcast right before our Be the Change collaboration conference, and he and Blake Lammers saw that podcast and heard about. She talked about why not mindset, and he
Uh-huh.
reached out to her and said, "Hey, I'm in Springfield, Missouri. What's up with this why not mindset?" She sent him to me. He got a hold of me, and it's just
That's how
it's
it
just
works. That's how
it's
it
it's
works.
it's
It's
powerful.
it's
It's
networking plus. It's
that's what I want. I want to build a network of second
yeah,
chances, Brent. That's what I
yeah.
want.
If you look at if this whole life that we've talked about here today, Rusty, and where you are now, what do you think's your biggest takeaway from all of it?
Say the question one more time and let me
Yeah. So
give it
if
to me
just for
again.
the listeners out there that you've gone through all this, and you've made all these changes, and you're doing, these things with why not mindset. What do you think's your biggest takeaway of going through it all, the journey?
That change is possible,
Mhm.
and that if I can do it, so can you. And that having the right mindset really does matter, and that you you aren't a number, you are a person, and we are all capable of change. And no matter where you are at in life, it can get better if you want it to get better.
Mm. Wow. I'm glad I asked you that twice, because that's really an awesome takeaway. Just needed to get the engines revving for Rusty to spew all that out. That's awesome. I love that
Yeah.
takeaway.
Thank you.
Um, Talking about gratitude and all that, I want to give Homestead Financial Home Mortgage a big shout out, letting me use the podcast room here, all the lights and fancy equipment. If you got home mortgage needs out there, Greg Aftiev is your guy. He knows all that stuff. If you're looking for a book, go get the Mindset Matters, which is Rusty's book, and then go get my book. It's Nightmare Success, Loyalty, Betrayal, Life Behind Bars, Adapting, Finally Breaking Free. And if you got time, leave me a review on Apple. I love that. Love to read those
Can
reviews.
can I can
Yeah,
I give Mindset Matters? My favorite chapter of Mindset Matters is the ripple effect.
the ripple
And
effect.
the ripple effect is my favorite chapter. It's my most powerful chapter. And I read it at the conference. I'm not going to read it now, but it's Mindset Matters.
There it is.
But I would suggest reading. Just go ahead, and if you get the book, just go straight to Ripple Effect. I believe page 58. Read Ripple Effect, and there are two stories in there. And I
Okay.
will tell you the first story is before I was in prison waiting. I was awaiting trial, waiting my pretrial, and the last story is after I was released. and you can read between the lines, and it is very powerful. And the basic, the basic theme around the ripple effect is even the littlest things we do, whether it is seeing someone not doing well and you sitting down on a bench next to them and saying, "Hey, how you doing?" and just listening.
Mm-hmm.
Or what it basically is saying is each action you take is taking a rock and throwing it into a pond, and that ripple effect can spread. And it
Both
can spread
positive and negative.
it can spread good or it can spread bad. And one of the stories was bad, one of the stories was good. So ripple
I like
effect,
that.
ripple effect.
Ripple effect and mindset matters.
Sorry for
Uh,
interrupting you. Sorry.
oh gosh, no. And then if you want to go to the go to whynotmindset.net, not .com, .net. And mine's brentcassity.com. I spell it wrong. I spell it with a TY, not a DY. And as I used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the same. Rusty, I love your story. I think for a lot of those people out there, this goes into 1,100 prisons on the Adovo platform. Uh, your story will inspire people because it's not easy. You knew it wasn't easy, and you
Mhm.
planned for it not to be easy, and you got to where it's where you want, and you think you're making a difference, and you know you're making a difference. That makes you feel good. I
Mhm.
love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's been great. Nightmare success in and out.